Well, the Bombers are on a bye week, Zach Schnitzer, but we are not short for news here in Winnipeg. Welcome inside Bonfire Midweek. Getting set to go, looking ahead to CFL Week 20. Back on Week 19, the Blue Bombers loss in the Drew Brown game in Vancouver. We'll talk a little bit of Nathan Rourke. We're going to talk about this huge contract extension the Blue Bombers signed with QB1 Zach Collaros, what that means for Drew Brown moving forward, and really the rest of the roster. Willie Jefferson reportedly working on a deal, according to Justin Dunk of 3 Down Nation. We'll go around the CFL. We'll talk about all of this crazy stuff in Saskatchewan with Cody Fajardo being benched, I guess you could say. Mason Fine to start this week for the Roughriders. Craig Dickinson, is he on the hot seat? Is this desperation mode? The Riders, all that going on. CFL and NFL picks. Okay, I'm done talking. I'm bringing you in now, Zach. How you doing, my friend? What's going on?
Buddy, I'm good. We got hit with the bug this week at my house. So being stuck at home with 2 kids all week, baby. No school, no daycare. Sometimes there even is too much of a good thing, and that's why even the Bombers need a bye week. I need a bye week from my family, so I'm here in my basement. And man, we were just talking. It's nice to have a fun distraction. You got the Jets game going tonight. A new regime there, hoping for good things, buddy. I love your coverage of the Jets, folks. If you're not tuned in, Bonfire is in on hockey big time. And of course, love seeing all our fire starters, Sandy, Townsend, all the way from Thailand. Good morning. Waiters is back. Andre Harms, Granny Bomber fan, Arlen Axelrod, Corey May. Love you guys. So excited. We had a whole slate of things to talk about, award winners, picking the Bomber All-Stars, and then boom, Collaros. The Collaros news, the Willie Jefferson speculation, and the Fajardo news. Oh,
Yeah.
I just can't wait to get into that, buddy. It's good stuff.
Well, just to update everybody out there, the Jets have now taken a 2-0 lead in Denver against the defending Stanley Cup champion Avalanche. Neil Pionk just scored. Sam
right.
Gagne scored on the power play, still the first period. So we'll see if they're able to hang on to this one, unlike their early lead in Dallas the other night. But we're here to talk football today. And let's talk about Zach Collaros. He signs a
baby.
3-year extension worth a total of $1.8 million. Simple math tells us that's $600,000 per season. Collaros spoke to the assembled media. I wasn't able to make it down there, but caught the cliff notes. And well, really, what does this tell us? Why now? And what does it mean for the Blue Bombers on the whole? Well, number one, it gives them continuity. They know who their quarterback is going to be through 2025. That's really something when we're in 2022 and they're looking and easily the favorite right now to win a 3rd straight Grey Cup. And then they're going to have Collaros for 23, 24, and 25. I'm not going to get ahead of ourselves here, but very good feeling, I'm sure, for Bomber Nation to get Collaros locked up. The $600,000 a year, why now? Well, Collaros said it started during their first bye week, those conversations. So back in mid to late August. And coming to a number like 600,000, Zach, I'm not sure how you feel about it, but he is being paid $550,000 this season, which makes him the highest paid player in the CFL. He gets a $50,000 pay bump. Obviously, there's guaranteed money now a factor. Lots of reporters across the country, including Dave Naylor and Farhan Lalji, 2 of my favorites, media aside, 2 of my favorite people on the football beat. They have got great stuff on, the guaranteed money and all the intricacies of it. But down to brass tacks, Zach, how do you feel about $600,000, a 3-year deal? Collaros not going anywhere for the time being.
I freaking love it, buddy. I love it. How can you not love this if you're a Bomber fan? How can you not love this if you're a CFL fan? I mean, part of the Bombers' brilliant video they sent out is about 40 something seconds. It started with Rod Peterson, quip from 2019, talking about how Zach Collaros was done. Now, to be fair, I thought it was a little bit.
Who put this video out?
The Bombers.
Oh, really?
And they were they were
didn't see
trolling
that.
Rod Peterson. Someone on the chat noticed that too. Is the chef's kiss, as Frishy says. Rod Peterson, who was I'm trying to think. No, he was already moved on from being the voice of the Riders, but he had said a popular show, the Rod Peterson show, had said Collaros was done, like whatever. But so the Bombers sort of riffed on that, and then they showed sort of a montage of basically Zach Collaros, basically he's going to be back-to-back MOP, ripping the league apart, 2 Grey Cups. But to be fair, I know that Rod Peterson's, I don't want to get, into the Rod Peterson thing too much, but I kind of felt bad for the guy. Like, I felt like it was a little bit unfair to troll him. Actually, he's been nothing but a Blue Bomber cheerleader if you listen to him in the last couple of years.
Rod calls it like he sees it. He calls a spade a spade.
And a lot of people thought Zach was done. A lot of
Yeah.
people thought so. I just thought it was a bit unfair. I'm looking forward to listening to Rod Peterson because he apparently he has a response, a rebuttal to it. I don't know if anyone heard it. If
Okay.
you did, get on the chat here, Firestarters, and tell us what he said, because I had it queued up, but I wanted to listen to it, but I didn't get a chance today.
I like Rod. I go on his
I like
show
him too.
a lot,
Yeah.
and he is somebody that's not afraid to call a spade a spade. It's one thing if you do it, it's another where you're not afraid to, dive into or delve into any topic. So, I got time for Rod and his opinions on it because, he has one on the majority of sports stories, and I enjoy going on his show.
And he cared. Well, and you're on there, right? Which is great.
Him and Darren
And
DuPont, big fans of those guys.
and they care about the CFL,
Big
and they
time.
want what's best for, and they promote the heck out of it in a country where we don't have enough promotion and we have a monopoly from TSN. So I just thought that was a little bit underhanded, but other than that, I think it's awesome, Darren. I think the 600 is what he deserves. He probably deserves more. You saw here's what I think. You saw Michael Riley and Bo Levi Mitchell get in the 700s, and especially in BC, you saw that hamstring that team. They couldn't sign enough guys. They didn't have enough talent around him. And you saw Michael Riley in the first year of that contract get injured. The second year, they didn't make the playoffs, even though they had some pretty good receivers. So you have to think that there was some discussion. You tell me, Firestarters chime in, that 600,000 was the right amount to be able to sign some other guys. Case in point, now they're talking about Willie Jefferson. It's the thing is, it's the CFL, right? 600,000 is not Tom Brady taking 20 million versus 40 million, right? Like, once you hit 20 million, I mean, what's another 20 million? Part of me thought, should he take less so that for the good of the team? But it's the CFL. The guys, every player is one hit away, not just Zach. So you got to take the money. So I have no problem with that. I just hope we are able to sign some other talent as well. I think it tells us that the Bombers and Kyle Walters are serious about signing other guys, and I love the 3-year deal. Zach talked about this. This is important for the CFL to have guys locked in so that your team doesn't have, a revolving door of players. What jersey are you going to buy? It's bad for any brand.
Get a Canadian offensive lineman. You won't be disappointed.
Yeah.
Unless you get like a Matthias Gosen who retires or something.
Gosen, Sukchung. Anyway, I think it's awesome, just in a long-winded way of answering your question in a show that we said would be shorter. I think it's awesome, man. I'm super pumped, and I loved what the Bombers did with a personalized letter and the video. I just, I thought it was great. And I'll go on record as saying I thought Zach was done too. So I think I'm not the only Bomber fan who thought Zach was maybe done. But what I've learned from you is you look at the context. Look at the offense he was in. Look who was running the show in Saskatchewan. A lot of people say Chris Jones doesn't really care about offense. Stephen McAdoo maybe have hamstrung him in the offense. So anyway, that's enough for me.
Yeah, like I'll never, like, in no time in my mind did I see Kyle Walters, a proven general manager, bring a player in and be like, well, he's probably done. Like, how many times have you had a reaction to us seeing something here in the CFL, Zach? And I'm just like, hang on a second. We don't know.
Yep.
Like Bo Levi Mitchell, you said he's done. Bo Levi's done.
They sure
What
did,
if
baby.
Bo Levi has a good season with a new offensive coordinator next season? Maybe it's Saskatchewan.
Okay, but that one's a little bit different.
Why?
Because for me, that one is not the scheme so much. And I get your point. And you're basically using my own argument against me, which is beautiful, elegant, touche. But for me, that's not so much the play calling. I mean, him and Dickinson are tied to the hip. For me, it's the injury, Darren. Ever since he had that surgery, he has not looked the same to me. Prove me
What, the
wrong.
knee?
It'd be great for the CFL. This is the shoulder, right?
Oh, Bo. Yes.
Yeah, both shoulders. So I don't know. It's just a little bit different for me.
Yeah, no,
For
like
Bo.
I get it. I never did I think, well, this is inevitable for Collaros. Like, he did nothing in Saskatchewan, he did nothing in Toronto. Like,
Right.
I was cautiously optimistic. If the Bombers were willing to trade a first round draft pick,
Yeah,
that wasn't on a whim. That wasn't on a hope and a prayer.
for sure.
When
But
they
I
made that
didn't.
trade, they were third place in the West.
Yeah.
Third place. They were not a first place team who suddenly lost their quarterback. Okay. They had a banged up Chris Streveler. They had a defense that was getting better, but it's not like they played 2 months of lights out football.
No.
They were just kind of finding their path. And
Gelling.
everything came like, it's not
Beautiful,
just
man.
Zach Collaros joined the Bombers and everything was fixed. It was everything came together at
Yeah.
that time. Andrew Harris had a growing chip on his shoulder. The offensive line was playing at its peak. That's peak Stanley, peak Bryant, peak Hardrick, peak Neufeld, oh gosh, Michael Couture was injured at that time,
Yeah.
but they had a lot of guys playing really, really well.
Yeah.
And then the defense, it was like the defensive line, like Jackson Jeffcoat was starting to emerge as just as good or just an impactful player as Willie Jefferson. And then there was Dietrich Nichols, and Winston
Yeah.
Rose was just starting to get used to being back Winston Rose was kind of hitting his peak before he had his NFL opportunity, right? Like that 2019 team had a lot of things going right for it all at the same time. They then added Collaros and didn't lose again, right?
And
But
sorry, Darren, I got
Collaros.
Yeah, no, and he was the icing on the cake. I mean, not even icing on the cake. He was the cake.
He was the cherry on top.
He was a quarterback, though. Like they needed one guy. There was only, Michael Shea has said it many times, there was only one guy who would have fit. But they hadn't established my trust yet, the Canadian Mafia, at that point. Like,
Really?
I wasn't like I am now, where if they make a move,
All right,
I don't even question it anymore. I don't even question it anymore. I just don't. Back in 2019, they hadn't won a Grey Cup yet. I was like, I don't know. They're kind of in a bind. Who else are they going to bring in? I know. I remember hearing they had tried to get Kevin Glenn and Drew Willie. So they hadn't, like, right now they're solid gold, man. Everything they touch, King Midas. Everything they touch turns to gold. Mark Leggio, they trot him out. What has he done? We can talk about the BC game.
we'll get into that in our sober second thoughts,
right? People,
or your sober second thoughts.
People wondering about that move and getting rid of Andrew Harris. Solid gold. By the way, I do have to give a plug to Paul Friesen. If you haven't read the book that he wrote about 2019 Cinderella season, it was called Against All Odds, the inside story of the Blue Bombers.
Superb writing.
It's a fabulous book. If you can get your hands on it, I think all proceeds went to Harvest or something. Paul Friesen doesn't just write articles. It was a fantastic book, and I told.
Well, you know what he did? He took all of his articles through the year and then kind of rewrote them all and brought them all together. Yeah, and added a lot of stuff too. Yeah,
and like that 2019 team, just put a pin on this one, Darren. They very well might have had COVID that week because they were sick. They were down, like getting fluids the day before the game. Like guys like Big Hill were barely functioning, and they were sick as dogs.
But if you remember Michael Jordan when he was sick,
the sick game. Yeah.
Sometimes you get the best performance out of somebody when they've got like nothing to lose or nothing, backs against the wall.
So what is the 600,000? What does the timing of this deal mean to you, Darren?
Yeah. So the timing of the deal tells me this, like the Blue Bombers weren't they added Alden Darby at the trade deadline, right? And they traded, so they added a little bit of salary there and they had money to pay him. Greg Ellingson going on the 6-game injured list twice this season, Michael Couture going on the 6-game injured list. Like there's some other guys too. They've saved a lot of cap space in having those
Dembski,
big
yeah,
contracts on the
yeah,
6 game for a stretch of time. So if you take Ellingson twice, that's 2/3 of his salary is recouped and able to be
right.
used. Like, yeah, you need the money. You're paying Greg Ellingson, but your cap space is there. And when you have a team like the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and somebody running things the way the Blue Bombers board does, and they make money year over year, and they spend money where they need to if they're going to try to win a championship, which they are in full championship mode right now. Then they were able to do that. So they add Alden Darby, but I think they had more in the bank.
Yeah,
So what do smart GMs do? You top up your salary cap this season, and then that defers some of the money away, or opposite defers some of the money away from next season. So instead of paying Zach Collaros 600, 600, 600, okay, you give him a signing bonus right now
yeah,
of the remaining money under your salary cap in 2022. Then entering 2023, maybe he and 2024, 20, maybe he balances out. So he's making, say they had $60,000 in space, maybe it's 580, 580, 580 over
right.
the next 3 years.
Interesting.
Right. Or
This
maybe
is why we got the insider, folks.
well, I'm no insider. I just know how the insides work. That's all. And
Well,
and
to
that's
me,
just
that
come
means you're an
through
insider.
studying and conversation, right? But
You know
that's what
people.
smart GMs do is they try to shore up as much as they can if
That's a
they
really
have
interesting
space to
point.
do it now. Zach Collaros is going to be here next year. You also know Willie Jefferson is going to be here next year, one way or another. Of course, I say that more in a confident tone than a knowing tone because Willie Jefferson is a free agent this coming winter. But Justin Dunk, 3Down Nation, who reported the numbers on Zach Collaros, also reported that Willie Jefferson is currently in contract talks with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on signing an extension. He is the highest paid defensive player in the league. So what is Kyle Walters doing? He's taking the highest paid player in the league, locking him up for 3 years, taking the highest paid defensive player in the league. You could argue his most important player on that side of the football. I think he's the most dynamic defender the CFL has seen in a long, long time because he can do things no other defensive end can
Oh,
do.
you can't, like you've said
And you
so well,
you lock
Darren.
him up.
Like you've said, some of his best games, he may not show up on the stat sheet. And then Walby's big on this, right?
Mhm.
Sack is not necessarily the best indication of a player's prowess or effect on the game, folks. Like
Yeah.
you're exactly right. Best player in offense, best player in defense, arguably in the league. Nobody can do what Jefferson could do.
Yeah.
It's and I've heard football people say, to have a good football team, here's what you need. You need an elite quarterback, you need an elite left tackle, you need an elite player on the D line, you need a stud at DB,
You need a good kicker.
and in the CFL, you need a darn good kicker.
What did the
And
Bombers do when they were rebuilding, right? They found a
Medlock,
consistent
yep,
quarterback. They invested in the offensive line and
yep.
they signed the highest paid future Hall of Famer kicker in Justin Medlock, who could handle all three duties, right?
This
And that helped
regime,
them
yeah.
become competitive.
Absolutely. They turned it around, right? They
Yeah.
didn't quite get there with that formula, but then when Zach came in, it was just they needed a more aggressive air attack that would keep defenses honest. And people are referencing that 2019 West Final, Darren, where Zach aired it out against
Mhm.
his team. You remember him at his
Yeah.
own goal line, Charleston Hughes rolling into his ankle as he hits Darvin Adams for a 60-yard bomb. And then 2 plays later hits Kenny Lawler for a 40-yard, 30-yard touchdown. It's just that's what was missing with Matt Nichols. And no shade on Nichols. I wish they would have given him the chance to retire as the Bomber. Apparently he asked. I don't know the full story, Darren. Maybe there's some other drama
Well,
there. But I think
how long
I
has it
like
been
I like to
since
give my respect to Matt Nichols for what
how
he
long
did
has
here.
it been since SJ Green has been in the CFL? He
2
will
years?
retire a Montreal Alouette in the coming days, signing a one-day contract.
Uh,
So it's not over and done with.
I
Okay.
hope not. I hope not. Because I think Matt Nichols did a lot for this organization
Yeah.
and certainly in the community as well. Seems like a good dude. So No, I think it's super exciting to get those two locked down. I sure hope they can keep the tarpaulin because this guy's going to demand a lot of money. Teams basically don't throw on him. He is
No, they don't.
so here's my hope is that we can sign as many of these guys as we can. But you know what? If we can't, we do know that the scouting on this team is unbelievable.
It's not just Kyle Walters. It's Ted Gavaya. It's Danny McManus. You know,
Yep.
they're finding all types
Yep.
of guys. And this is something worth mentioning. The Blue Bombers released a handful of players from their practice
Yes.
roster
What was
this
that
week.
about?
Yeah. So this is normal. It doesn't mean that they're done with these guys. The practice roster expands for roughly a 30-day window. This time of year, the team can activate it and then close it. And they've done that. So the practice roster back down to its usual size now, and they've trimmed that practice roster down. So those guys that they cut, it doesn't mean that they won't be back. Now, one of them, I think it's Jacob Stott, signed with Montreal.
Okay.
Now I'm
I didn't see
forgetting.
that.
But he started some games for the Ottawa Redblacks last year.
Okay.
So he's somebody that had an opportunity to go somewhere else and collect a paycheck. So all the power to him. But the
Absolutely.
Bombers were bringing guys in, sending them on their way, and that's part of the scouting process.
So that doesn't mean, because at first I thought, oh, they're making room for someone, or Greg Ellington's coming off the 6th game, but this is just procedural. Like they have an open window and they close. By the way, Kevin Sproul, shout out. Read that comment on Bud Grant used to say, to run a successful team, you need a good QB, a good wife, and a good dog, and not necessarily in that order. Bud
That's right.
Grant's a
That is a
beauty,
famous.
man.
Yeah.
And if you ever want to see a very similar regime to this one, look at the Bud Grant era. He was famous for saying, "We don't have backups on this team." Same kind of thing,
Yeah.
folks. All in. And by the
Well,
way,
and
Bud
Bud Grant
Grant
knew
loves
Bud
to.
Grant. Bud Grant played in the NBA.
He won 2 championships with the Minneapolis Lakers.
Yeah, before they became the LA Lakers.
And then he went to play DB and receiver in the Philadelphia Eagles. He was an all-star for them. He
And
led
he's
the
in the Blue
team.
Bombers Ring of Honor as a coach. He played for the Bombers. He
I
won
know.
NBA championships. It's crazy.
But for the Eagles, and I'm reading his book by Roy Rosmus and Scott Taylor. I'm reading the quiet what was it? The Quiet Leader or something. Anyway, it's a great book.
Yeah.
On Kenny Plain. And it's all about the Bud Grant era. But if you look at Bud, he loved fishing and hunting, just like O'Shea. Like there's a lot of similarities there. But Bud Grant won 2 championships with the Minneapolis Lakers. Then he wanted to go back to football, signs with the Philadelphia Eagles, but he had spurned the Eagles 2 years earlier to play NBA, and they never forgot it, and they didn't forgive him. He led this team in receiving the second year. And back then, you made more money in the CFL. So it's so fun. The Canadian dollar was primo. People would come up to the CFL, and fascinating stories, man. You got to read this stuff. So big shout out to Mr. Sproul. Quiet Hero
is the Ken Plain.
Yeah, and I saw Scott Taylor walking down the street a couple of weeks ago. I gave him a hello and said, "Great book." So anyway, we're going on and on, buddy.
Yeah, well, I should mention who had Sam Gagner having 2 goals before Kyle Connor hit the score sheet. He
Love
put
it.
the Jets up 1-0 on the power play. Neil Pionk followed that up later in the period, 2-0 Jets in Colorado.
Nice.
Colorado,
Yeah.
with 1 period in the books. But so the Willie Jefferson contract, I think, is important for the Blue Bombers to secure because players want to play on teams with Willie Jefferson, just like Nick Dembski and Rashid Bailey and Dalton Schoen and even the guys on the offensive line. They want to play on a quarterback's team like Zach Collaros.
Yeah.
So you bring in Willie Jefferson. Does that help sign Dietrich Nichols? Maybe. Right? Does that help sign Malik Clements or Kyrie Wilson? Like
Sure.
all of these things still need to be determined, but you got to start with the key cogs. You got to start with those linchpins, and Willie Jefferson is that. So we will watch closely and definitely break it down if or when it happens.
Well, and just
here
to
on
say,
Bonfire Sports. Yeah.
Just to say, Walters talks about building a team, right? And how do you build a team? You build it from the inside out, quarterback and lines.
Hmm.
And sometimes those lines, especially O-line, that's not the sexiest signings, right? When you re-sign a Pat Neufeld or
I
Jamar
don't know
Carter.
about you, but they are to me.
Yeah, they like to eat too. Apparently, Jeff Gray makes some great food for them, and this guy is like a
Yeah, you mentioned that
Michelin
last time. Yeah.
chef.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just love how they do things. And you talk about Malik Clements and Dietrich Nichols and Brandon Alexander and Adam Bighill. If you have Willie Jefferson on the line, you don't think that makes your job a hell of a lot easier? If he's knocking down balls, he's getting the quarterback's face, making sacks, creating double teams. So guys like Casey Sales can get in on sacks. Jake Thomas. Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
a no-brainer.
There's a lot of guys to sign, but you
Yeah,
start with the irreplaceable, right?
yeah,
You cannot replace Zach Collaros. You cannot replace Willie Jefferson. You can shore things up. Quarterback's a little bit different, but you can add pieces on the defensive line. You can add pieces in the defensive backfield.
sure.
I think Dietrich Nichols will get serious consideration this year, not just for the Blue Bombers' most outstanding defensive player, but maybe in the West Division. Maybe I'm wrong in saying that, but I hope he does,
Yeah,
because you all
he
out there
deserves
know
it.
how I feel about the human tarpaulin.
We do. You never let us forget it. And can we go on to
Or the Tie Cats.
dude, I just want to give you some respect for hanging your neck out there, loving on some Tie Cats. You got crapped on again and again and again, and look at them now. Let's go. Do you want to go around the league and then we'll get to Fajardo,
Let's do it.
film in there?
Let's do it. Let's go around the CFL for Week 19. It started on Friday. It was a doubleheader, and it in Ottawa. The Montreal Alouettes came away with a 34-30 victory over the Red Blacks. Trevor Harris played quite well. William Stanback back to, I would say, almost full production. He only carried the ball 9 times, but did have a touchdown and 34 yards. And the Red Blacks' first loss under Bob Dice as their interim head coach, but they're throwing the football quite effectively right now. Either way, Zach, I just need to remind people, because after we do our NFL picks for SIA.com/bonfire, we do our CFL rapid fire, and you picked Montreal to cover 3.5. So congratulations.
Woo!
Well done there.
In the CFL, I can make good picks.
You can. You absolutely can. Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. The Tie Cats were in Calgary. And
Yeah.
this game was awesome.
Yeah.
Back and forth, neck and neck, tight until the end. And both teams were 1 point, like they were, I'm getting confused here, but like in the third quarter, they both scored 10 points. In the fourth quarter, Stamp scored 12, Tie Cats scored 11, and it ended up being a 3-point Hamilton Tiger Cats victory to keep their season alive. With the Ottawa loss, they're effectively
Love this
donezo.
drama. Love this drama.
But I tried to tell you all, if there is a team, I will say it again, not just I like the Tie Cats, they're good. If there is a team that has belief in their locker room, it is Orlando Steinhauer's group. Don't ever put that past them. If you give them a chance, they can make it happen. So big ups to the Tie Cats right now.
Yeah.
They're making things interesting
Do
with that crossover, and in the East in particular.
you
I think they can win the East.
do you put anything on the fact that their rise has maybe been coincidental with the acquisition of Kahari Jones after he was unceremoniously dumped? Is there anything there? Do you
Uh,
think he's helped at all, or is it just a coincidence?
Well, the games that they've lost, it's still been the same story with Dane Evans kind of blowing it or making critical
Yeah.
errors. But I don't think I think it helped. I'm sure it
Can't
helped
hurt, right?
having
Yeah.
Kahari there, right? You go up against the Stamps. It's a chess match to play against Dave Dickinson and John Huffnagel and the group that they have in Calgary.
And they
Um,
hadn't won in McMahon in what, 20 years or something? Like, it wasn't 20 years, but it was
yeah,
2004 or something. That's throwing a gigantic Chris Walby-sized monkey off your back.
yeah. I'm with Craig Smith, who's watching live on Facebook. What's
Oh,
going on,
yeah.
Craig? Good to see you, as always. If the Cats get good quarterbacking from Dane Evans, they got a shot.
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
never count the Ticats out until they are dead and buried.
And they have a good
Pardon,
running
pardon
game.
the
They've got
visual.
this Wes Hills guy.
Yeah, he's running extremely well, right?
Yeah.
And the
Although,
Ticats don't normally run the football, but
no, they
that was
don't.
the doubleheader on Friday. Argos at
Yeah.
Elks to get things going on Saturday prior to Bombers Lions, and the Elks have not
Yeah,
won
baby.
at home again.
The Elks covered, though. Zach got it.
You did.
Told you they'd cover because the Argos are the worst, best team I've ever seen. Not best team, but worst, best team of the East.
That's right.
By the way, the Elks really should have won that game if Cornelius doesn't get knocked out of the game, because then Trey Ford comes in, throws a pick. The Argos march down and score. They win that game. The Elks deserve to win that game. So I don't know what to make of these Argonauts, but whatever.
So just to quickly recap, because you and we haven't been keeping track week to week.
I know we got to do
picks.
this.
We have our NFL picks, but you correctly picked Montreal to cover 3.5. So
Yeah.
I was wrong there because I went against you in every pick this week.
You did.
You
were very
wrong
adversarial,
on Calgary
Darren.
covering 7.5 because I like the Ticats. So I was right there.
You were right.
I was wrong in picking Toronto to cover 6. They won by 3. So you were right there. And then I was incorrect in saying the Bombers plus 1.5. So close. So you were correct there. So we went 2-2 this week.
2-2? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, didn't I go
Both of us.
3-1? I got Montreal, BC, and Edmonton.
Oh, you were 3-1.
Yeah, nice try there, Buzz.
Oh, wait, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, you were 3-1.
You see how he does that? He just slips it. He's so smooth, right? That's the professional reporter. Oh yeah, it's 2-2.
Been one of those
Great job,
days,
Zach.
man.
Great job,
Holy
Zach.
cow.
I'm like, no, buddy.
Sorry,
you can't
Zach,
take
you know
this
I wouldn't
away.
do you dirty like that. I wouldn't do you dirty.
Oh yeah, right.
I wouldn't.
Right. Oh no, I
let's
feel
get-
bad for the Elks. That's rough, man. Yeah, that's
Let's get into your sober second thoughts before we
All
talk
right.
a little bit about Cody Fajardo, Mason
Oh
Fine, Dickinson, the
my
Riders, and
God.
that mess that continues
Yeah.
out there.
I'm going to foreshorten my sober second thoughts just because I think we got to give that some airtime. Yeah, not much here. Like I said, this was a preseason game 2.0. It was more fun than a preseason game, but it meant nothing. I saw people saying that if you really wanted to get a look at Drew Brown, then why would you put in backup lineman? Well, what better way to get a look at Eric Lofton on right tackle? Like, you don't want Eric Lofton coming in the West Final if Jamarcus Hardrick gets hurt and he's never had a snap. Are you freaking kidding me? So you got to get those O-linemen in. I thought they prepared for that game perfectly. As for the highlights, Darren, I've got highlights, concerns, and questions. Quick highlights. Loved to see Bailey. I know Sandy Thompson too. Get 121 yards, 2 touchdowns. Well deserved. And the big story of the game was Drew Brown. Before I get to him, let me just say that patchwork O-line only gave up 3 sacks. Right? That's pretty good. You had a whole bunch of moving parts there. I thought Jamal Parker was a killer. 7 tackles and a sack. You saw that great instincts on the ball right off the snap. He was just getting to the ball, making tackles.
Yeah.
I've heard people say, Darren, that halfback in the CFL is like one of the toughest positions.
Yeah.
He's no Dietrich Nichols, but he's quite frankly, he has a meteoric rise here. He didn't look great. Janarian Grant has set the Bomber record over Keith Stokes, a guy I know you love. I was listening to the post game with Fry, Sam, and Allen. They Wally pipped me, and I loved them. Not
no,
knowing
they
the
did
Wally
not. That would mean you wouldn't be here right now.
I know. I'm just kidding, but they were awesome. I loved them, and I loved a little bit of different voices here, and I love the fact because I always feel young on the show because you'll make references to Al Bundy, and I'll be like, "What are you talking about?" And they didn't get the Wally Pipp reference you put out there, so I was like, "Hey, I know that one. I'm not that young.
You're a little bit older than Josh. Josh and Taylor.
Yeah. So Janarian Grant sets the record in only 32 games over Keith Stokes, the Bomber record for returns. That's awesome. And then Drew Brown was the big story of the game, Darren. And I heard you guys talk very glowingly of him. I heard on the post game CGOB they talked, very poised, composed, 3 touchdowns, 325 yards, 72%. I think he's the first starter for the Bombers who was a backup to win since Alex Brink. And he did throw 2 pick sixes, of course. I mean, that was really the game. But here's the thing, one of them was the low snap, which he blamed on himself. You notice that he didn't throw Couture under the bus for that.
He's not, no.
He was very professional. He sounded great. He was pissed, actually. He was pissed. You know, a guy could easily say, "Hey, I threw 325 yards in my start, 3 touchdowns." He was pissed at himself. I love that.
He's
And he
never
took it
going to
all.
say that.
No, but some guys would. But anyway, he said
Mm.
everything you want to hear. Collaros talks about how hard he works and that he does everything right. He throws a pick six. He comes back, leads a tough touchdown drive. I thought he was poised. I thought he played really well, and it's nice to see that he got some playing time. So those were kind of the highlights for me. Retta Cramdy, he got a squib kick and he picked it up perfectly. That was one of the highlights. I love that.
Yeah.
So those are the highlights. Just quickly, concerns. First of all, this might not matter to other people, but I know you and I love those third jersey helmets, Darren, with that white stripe. What happened to those? The Lions killed it with their
the gunmetal gray.
Gunmetal gray jersey. Where's the white stripes? I love those white stripes. Firestarters, way in here. Come on, those white stripes are sweet.
Yeah, the nice wide white stripe. I agree with the blue on the outside. I want to get your thoughts on where was it here? Oh yeah. Okay. So Booch mentioning that halfback is the toughest position to play doesn't exist in the US. It does. If there's 3 receivers on the field, somebody's playing that nickel spot, right? Yeah. It's just not all the time.
And they're not covering that amount of field. Back in the day
when there was like 2 tight ends, 2 receivers, tailback and quarterback, right?
Yeah.
Or a 2 tailback set with 1 tight end. That's sometimes how it's run, but those spots do exist. How do you feel, John Chan, who's watching live on YouTube? What's going on, John? Thanks for joining the live chat. Should we be concerned about Mark Leggio after his poor performance in BC under the dome with no wind?
Okay, so I had that as a potential concern. I'm going to ask you if
you. Good thing, isn't it?
Well, so there's a lot of stuff on the dome and whether it's good or bad for kickers. Apparently kickers in domes don't actually do better than in open air. They do worse. Someone on Twitter told me, I think it was one of our guys, Jay Rubin in our DM group. He had been DMing with none other than Derek Taylor and talked about that it's sea level. So we saw a Medlock struggle in the dome. Both games that Leggio has played in BC, he's had struggles. He was 3 for 5 in the first BC game, missed from 43 and 33. And this time he missed from 52, 53, and 45. So I don't think I think the dome is tough for some kickers, especially if you're not used to it. It's dead air. You're at sea level, heavier air. Maybe you know how they kick in Denver, right? You can kick like 70 yards. He misses from 52 and 53. I mean, it was dead on, straight. Mike O'Shea said something interesting in his coach's show. He said that if I'm not mistaken, he sort of intimated that it was a little bit out of Leggio's range in that dome, and he sent him out because he thought, why not give him a chance, right? So here's my tinfoil hat, Darren.
Okay.
If I'm the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, here's a few things that I noticed. They trot out Leggio to hit 50-plus field goals twice. Those basically changed the game because one of them was almost run back for a touchdown. I mean, the return team struggled. I don't know if that's a big concern either because that same return team has helped Janarian Grant on returns get the record, right? It's the same players, but I don't know if the kick coverage wasn't great. Well, we let a few rushing yards through, but they were rotating guys.
Can I comment on that note? So if you're rotating guys, you're trying to see how things work out. Yeah, they're trying to win. That's the message they're going to stick with. But if they don't, it's not such a big deal. Are you trying to win? Yes. Are you heartbroken if you don't? No. Are you making decisions strategically in the game to win? Maybe not quite. That's my tinfoil hat. So when O'Shea, like Casey Jones mentioning here, O'Shea should have known better about the dead air in the dome. He does.
He knows.
But even Pasaglia had issues over 50. Even Justin Medlock had issues in that dome. Here's the thing. If you are trying different things, you're trying, different guys on the O-line and Parker at halfback, and put Mark Leggio out there to do it. So it's not the first time
That's right.
when he ever has to do that in the future. Put guys in challenging situations, not in unaccomplishable positions or slim margin decisions. No, put them in position to be challenged. And that's what he did. Leggio was straight, but short. Okay. To me, he missed one.
Just like me,
yes, he
Darren.
missed
I'm
3,
straight
but
and
he missed
short.
one that he should have had.
Yeah, he missed what was it, 40,
38
43,
or whatever
38.
it was. Yeah.
So am I concerned about Leggio? No. Am I concerned about the rushing numbers against? Not really. They were, Biggie goes out early. They're rotating guys. Darby and Clements are, they have a higher ceiling maybe than some of the other guys that backed them up, but it was their first game. The kick coverage maybe concerned me. They gave up a lot of yards, but some of it was missed field goal returns. I don't know, man. Here's my tinfoil hat. Okay. They put out Leggio above his range. Okay. They kick it deep when there's 1:06 left instead of an onside kick. Now, O'Shea defended it strategically, saying there's enough time to get a 2 and out if you kick it deep. And only in the CFL moment, Terry Williams has his foot outside of bounds, and you think it's a penalty on them. Penalty on us, because you could do that on purpose. And then they get it at the 50-yard line. I'm still not sure that most coaches wouldn't try an onside kick. Do I think the Bombers were trying to lose? No, but were they really trying to win? You think they want to play Calgary in the West Final? There's no freaking way they want to play Calgary in the West Final.
I don't think they care who they play. I think they want to play the winner of a game in Vancouver. You want to play against a team that just played in a dome. You don't want to play against a team that won
that.
in a
Explain
cold.
that.
Well, like if BC hosts the West Final, whether it's the Lions or the Stamps that come out of that game and come to Winnipeg, they're coming out of a dome. They're coming out of a game where they played in a controlled, warm environment.
Good point.
If you play against if the Bombers play against either the Lions or the Stamps from McMahon, you're playing against a team that prepared all week for a cold weather game.
That's a good point.
And will prepare again all week for a cold weather game. Is there more of an advantage to BC to be the team that comes to Winnipeg for the West Final if they play in Vancouver? Absolutely. But I think they're less concerned about that and more concerned about maybe a more dangerous team in Calgary getting momentum with winning the division, winning second place in the division, and then having that momentum through, a dome win or that sort of thing. I think it's all these little nuances, right? I think that's the path Winnipeg would want their opponent to take.
Absolutely. You're bang on, Darren. And of course, as well, BC's going to be at home. Scott Roger, rifle up, buddy. Home team has an advantage in theory. And I do think we'd rather play BC. I do. We played BC at the height of their powers with Nathan Rourke and beat them by 3 touchdowns. And let me tell you, Vernon Adams ain't scaring anybody. He was vastly outplayed by Drew Brown, who's our backup with a patchwork O-line. That guy scares nobody. So I would much rather play BC myself. Just talking from a fan perspective. Darren, one question for you. Of course, one of the concerns too is Kolinkowski was hurt, but
we don't know. Everybody's asking me. I got DMs, I got texts on the Bonfire hotline here. Do we know anything? Is there a practice this week? Is there a practice that's not listed this week that fans can attend? No, there's no practices this week. The Bombers are working. But they're not on the practice field. No, and therefore we don't get any injury updates. So when they return to practice on Monday, I think they'll return on Monday. Let me double check here. They return on Monday to the practice field. It's an 11:35 at IG Field if fans want to attend. But no update on that. I wanted to bounce it back to you though, Zach, because you mentioned the offensive line and that reminded me. This thought that, the thought of, if you want to get the best look at Drew Brown, why put him in front of a patchwork offensive line? That makes 0 sense to me. 0 sense.
Okay.
Why?
I agree.
Don't you want to see what he has? Do you want him to just sit there in a cozy pocket? Like, yeah, that might help. But don't you want to see him under duress? Don't you want to see him in a challenging spot? Goes
Yeah.
back to what I said. You want to put these guys in challenging positions.
Yeah.
You got to remember too, Drew Brown has played on the field at practice with Eric Lofton at tackle, with Jeff Gray at tackle, with Michael Couture at center, as you know, he kind of worked his way through that second team at practice all season long. So, and you know, in Couture's case, as of recent. So that made no sense to me when people were like, well, why
Yeah.
would you do that to Drew Brown? They didn't do anything to Drew Brown. They put him in a position to grow as much as he can. And the mistakes, the pick sixes, it doesn't matter if they're pick sixes or if they're, you know, tackled by Nick Dembski immediately at the spot. It's the same mistake.
Yeah.
The after result is irrelevant, frankly. So
Yeah.
he's you know, Mike O'Shea mentioned it on his show. You know, he knows he's probably not going to make those mistakes again. So that's what you want to accomplish. That was what I talked about all last week on midweek and game day
Yeah.
Winnipeg with Chris Walby. That strategy of how to take full advantage of these final 2 weeks of the season while also ensuring your health is where it needs to be. I think is you know, the Bombers are doing it to a T right now.
Absolutely. I love your points there. And also love to Trevor Thompson, who was at the game, as were many Bomber fans. Apparently they had a great seat sale on WestJet. So shout out to all the fans who made it there.
$58 each way.
Yeah. Awesome,
They said their tickets
Trevor.
to the game were more expensive than flying to Vancouver.
Yeah, yeah, and you took over BC Place, so good on you. Here's just a couple questions for you, and then I know we got to move on. So, one is, are you concerned, Darren, or people in the Firestarters, concerned about our kick coverage?
No.
And why do you say that? You said it immediately. Like, no, not even a question.
I'm not, because you know, like, and look, I heard Mike O'Shea on his show with DT yesterday. And, you know, he says they're good. He didn't say they're very good. He said they're good. And it, you know, if you listen to Mike O'Shea a lot, you can kind of read between the lines a little bit. Maybe
Yep.
it's tinfoil hat, since that's kind of the
No,
term
I
of
think
term of the day here. But I think he is critical of his cover teams, that they need to do work and need to be better. But he'd say that even about a group that's playing extremely well or effectively.
Yeah.
I'm not concerned, because similarly to how offenses and defenses don't show their entire playbook through the first 6 weeks of the season, you don't show your, you know, nuance or unique wrinkle to your cover team and put it on tape for your playoff opponents to see. Or in BC's case, like, you're going to do it right up against them. They're going to figure out a way to counter it.
And that blends it. That's this perfect segue to my second thing, is to what extent were the Bombers playing possum? And what I mean by that is exactly what you said, Darren. They're hiding their cards because this is a potential playoff opponent. And you know Calgary's watching the film, because when you prepare for a team, let's say they meet them in the West Final,
they got to play BC and Winnipeg, one or the other, right?
Yeah, Calgary's going to look at the film against BC.
Yeah.
Are they, you know, they're not going to show everything. Of course.
Okay, let's move on, because I know you have dad duty tonight.
Yeah,
and, I maybe mean that with a double entendre. So let's quickly.
I still can't believe I didn't get your vanilla joke. I still can't believe I didn't get that Marcus Sales vanilla joke. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, that was
it just
that
like,
was like
I was just like, haha, I get it, but like inside I was like, haha. It's okay. Things are good on the home front. We got a few more minutes, Darren. You don't have to. It's not a hard cap.
Good.
Okay, let's go though.
Let's talk about to answer Granny Bomber fans' question. Does the Zach Collaros signing for 3 years mean Drew Brown will he sign? Well, what did I miss here?
Oh, he's just he just jumped on your dad. Double entendre.
Oh, okay. So earlier today, Cody Fajardo spoke about not getting the nod to start in the second last game of the season for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They're at home this week, and Cody Fajardo is not the starting quarterback. They will start Mason Fine. You know, so Fajardo said, I hope there's somebody out there that might still want me. I don't think this is the end of the Cody Fajardo book, but I think, but it might be the end of this chapter. So is Cody playing his final season for the Roughriders? Maybe. Some people are saying, Cody Fajardo is whining publicly about this. I think Cody Fajardo sees the writing on the wall. It's clear as day to me. It's clear as day to many people, and it's clear to Cody as well. The team is not confident in him, so he's not whining about not playing. He is simply stating, "It's clear the team is moving on from me. I want another opportunity." He's just letting people know that his services are going to be available this offseason. He's not going to ride into the sunset. Dave Dickinson did not view, this is according to Farhan Lalji, does not view it as a concession that the season is over for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They can still qualify for the crossover if Hamilton loses out. But it gives them a chance to evaluate Mason Fine for the future. Also believes Mason Fine starting this week gives them the best opportunity to win. So what does that tell you? You're Cody Fajardo, you're QB1 for years. And then suddenly your playoff chances are hanging by a thread. And the coach says, this gives us the best chance to win. It's okay. He also, Fajardo stated, I will be a good teammate and I will help prepare as a number 2. Good. He's a pro. But he's simply stating the obvious. I know I'm not going to be here next year. I want to continue to play. So
let me ask you this, Darren.
Things are tough in Riderville right now.
Yeah, they are. And they're hosting the Grey Cup. And then you see this, right? I think on the one hand, I think maybe Mason Fine does because they're not winning with Cody. They haven't won with Cody for a couple of months now. But so maybe Mason Fine does. And plus Calgary has they don't have a lot of film on Mason Fine, right? That's the advantage of playing a backup sometimes. However, I like what Bob Man said, and part of me wonders this: to what extent is this Craig Dickinson trying to save his job? Because he also sees the writing on the wall, hoping for a miracle to pull a rabbit out of a hat to get into the playoffs, at least with Mason Fine, salvage his job. Is there any truth to that, you think?
Maybe. I think it's Craig Dickinson doing what's best for the team. You keep playing Cody. Does that help your team win? Maybe, maybe not. But it definitely tells you, okay, like, are we going to be confident in Mason Fine going into next season? Does he show us some grit, some resiliency, some spark on the field? Then going into next year, do we have to sign Bo Levi Mitchell? Or can we maybe develop some guys, sign a strong number 2, maybe it's Vernon Adams, maybe it's Trevor Harris, maybe it's Nick Arbuckle, maybe it's McLeod Bethel Thompson if Toronto moves to, like, it gives you some options there, right? Like a little bit more where you stand, where your footing is. But no, I don't think it's him trying to save his job. I just want to give everyone a quick update. Jets were leading 2-0 at the end of the first. Mikko Rantanen left alone in front to make it 2-1 for the Jets. Cole Perfetti just scored his first of the season to restore that 2-goal lead for the Jets. So 3-1 midway through the second period as we kind of watch on from afar. I like this. Scott Roger channeling his inner 8 Mile. Vomit on a sweater already, Cole Perfetti. Are the Riders in desperation mode? To me, yes. They're trying to figure out what's going to work for next year because they got to go through the East right now and have Hamilton lose out in order to even get into the East.
And Hamilton plays Ottawa back-to-back.
Right. And we saw what Hamilton did last week.
Yeah,
against the
Stampeders, who are hungry for a second place finish, right? It looks bad. They and I like what Andre Harm says. Saskatchewan, they just don't keep things in house. It's not just Cody Fajardo. It's Craig Dickinson. It's all of them, and it's just a tire fire. I think they're all gonna. I think the slate's gonna get swept clean there, in my opinion. But I do slightly feel, as much as I find him to be a little bit annoying, I do kind of feel bad for Fajardo. He does have some talent. He doesn't really have an O-line. I will still say, though, he's not a finisher, in my opinion. he has opportunities in the red zone and he hasn't been able to cash in. You saw that duck of a pass to KSB against us, right, Darren, when they turn it over on downs there or kick a short field goal. So, I mean, he's had his opportunities, I would say, but I think he'll get a look from another team. I could see him getting a look.
Cody Fajardo, yeah, he'll get a look.
He's got experience, right? He's got some athletic ability.
Is he like Dakota Prukop? Maybe.
Yeah.
I think
might be his
whatever
ceiling.
team is left holding, left holding themselves, if you know what I mean. Maybe I shouldn't put it that way.
I don't know what you mean, Derek. Could you explain that?
No, I don't think so. So whoever's kind of on the outside looking in the quarterback free agent market might look at Cody Fajardo. Is that a knock on Cody? I think I'm just saying it as it is. He's not an elite quarterback. That's my opinion. He's got some great tools, though. He's got some great tools.
He does. And
love the ability that he has to run. I think he's a very attractive talent piece to add to a team.
Sure. The way he escapes pressure sometimes is brilliant. I got to give him credit for that. And folks, do stick around because I have the second item in our holiday giveaway package for TSV. We had this beautiful sculpted Jets mug. If you want it for Christmas or Hanukkah or Diwali or whatever you celebrate, Festivus. And then I'm going to reveal the second of 4 items later on. TSV, of course, friends of ours. You can find their stuff at Fanatics, at the Bombers store, at Amazon, and other
Shoppers
places.
Drug Mart.
Shoppers Drug Mart, and globally licensee in Winnipeg, local place. Great folks, David Thompson and the gang there over on
David
King
Thompson.
Edward Street. Yes, it's David, not the David Thompson,
okay,
but he is the David Thompson to me. Anyway, we'll reveal that item in a few minutes. Let's move along here, Darren.
Okay, let's get into our NFL picks for SIA.com/bonfire. Go to that exact link and sign up. The bonus now, it's not $500, it's $1,000. If you deposit $1,000, you get boosted to $1,000 when you bet that 1,000. So
and who bet the house on BC winning? Sorry, folks, I had to go against my Bombers. I bet the house and I won.
Yeah, now you're going to go to the Bomber store and support your team.
Yeah. I already won $500 to the Bomber store and bought some swag. So
now you're addicted.
Baby. Yeah, and now I have a sweet parlay for next week. DB and I were talking. We might reveal that parlay later on in the show. But
okay, so last week, Zach, you selected San Francisco to cover 5.5 in Atlanta and Cleveland to cover 2.5 in New England. You lost both. So, ladies and gentlemen, Zach Schnitzer is 0-8 against the spread in his NFL picks this season. That is not a bad thing. That is a good thing because you have a proven deliverer. You pick against Zach Schnitzer, you will win. He's 0-8 through 4 weeks.
Yeah, I feel like, it's almost like a perfect season. Was it the Lions that went 0-16 that year? I mean, it takes talent to lose every game in football. It takes some talent. Yeah.
So you got picks this week?
I do, and I'm actually feeling not so bad about them, Darren. I have. I've stolen your Cincinnati team here because
I was riding Cincinnati. I didn't even mention mine.
No, you went.
I've been riding Cincinnati the last 2 weeks. So
what, you went 1-1, right?
Covering 2 at New Orleans, that hit. Yeah, and then I had the Chargers to win by to cover 4.5 at Denver. They won by 3, so I lost that by 2 points.
You're still 5-3 though, brother.
On the season.
5-3 is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yes, the 2008 Lions, Steve Smith, may they live in infamy. So this week I've got Cincinnati -6 at home against the Falcons. I'm still pissed at the Falcons for what they did to the Niners. So I'm going to take Cincinnati at home. They're starting to throw the ball instead of trying to run. Like, just let Joe Burrow cook. Let him throw the ball with those receivers. I think they cover -6. They'll cover 6 at home against the Falcons this week. And then I've got Kansas City on the road last I checked on SAA, buddy, it was they just had to cover 2.5 at San Francisco, who's beat up on defense. I think Kansas City will be out for revenge from
So you got
their
okay.
Bills game. So I've got Kansas City and -2.5 on the road at San Francisco.
Okay. I'm literally picking as we
Of course you,
speak.
because that's what 5 and 3 guys do. They just pick as they speak.
Yes. Yes, we do. Um, you know, I don't know if I want to touch that. What
No,
I
don't
do
touch
like,
that.
Baltimore is on a bit of a skid. They are
Yes.
6.5 point favorites at home to the Cleveland Browns. So I'm going to take Baltimore -6.5
You think they're going to come around?
versus Cleveland. Oh yeah, they'll win by a touchdown. They're going to be full of piss and vinegar. Um, what are the other games here? Oh, New Orleans at Arizona is intriguing to me. That Thursday nighter. I pick a lot of primetime games. Dallas is 7 point favorites at home against the Lions. The Commanders are 5 point dogs at home to Green Bay. Maybe. I'm not touching Indy, Tennessee. I've been following the AFC South for a long, long
Your
time.
boys, the Colts.
Yeah, 25 years I've been following that division.
Yeah.
I'm not touching an interdivision game between the Colts and the Titans with a 2.5 line. The Giants are dogs in Jacksonville. That's interesting
Uh,
to me. Carolina are 11 point underdogs at home to Tampa Bay. That's a
oh,
big, big
that's
number. I
juicy.
understand
And Tampa Bay's been
they've been
mediocre.
okay. Yeah, everybody
Mediocre.
saw Tom Brady chewing out his O line on the sidelines last week.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
think it's Tom Brady. I think he stayed a year too long, maybe.
maybe that's a big
Yeah,
number. I think there's some value there. So go to
I think there's some value.
sia.com/bonfire, get your 100% bonus up to
Yeah,
$1,000.
baby. Mortgage
And
payment.
maybe you can get the Panthers plus 11.
Yeah,
Houston at LA. Jets at Broncos. How about that? The Jets are undefeated on the road this year. They're
love
in
it.
Denver and they're 1 point dogs on the
Sorry,
road in
Scott
Denver.
Roger. I love that they smacked the Packers. I don't necessarily just like the Packers, just Aaron Rodgers, but I think he has a personality disorder, and I feel bad for him because he didn't ask to be that way. I think he
Mhm.
has a pretty dysfunctional family, so that's just my thought.
Chargers are 6 point favorites at home to the
Uh,
Seahawks. Dolphins are 7 point favorites at home to Pittsburgh. Too many question marks there. Bears in New England.
Darren, just pick one. Dithering
Okay,
Darren, come on.
okay. I'm going to take Green Bay to cover 5 at Washington.
Yeah.
So I got Green Bay -5.0 at Washington.
All right. I like that you're
So we'll
writing it
see where
down.
that
I feel
line
like
ends up.
I
It's
feel
currently at
like this
5. It's
is the
probably going to
week
go to
for me,
5.5.
Darren.
But hey,
I feel like this is the week for me. I'm gonna turn it around. I
well,
I was
no,
text
keep it going, man, because I always bet your picks, and then I'm rich at the end of the Sunday
I
night.
know. You should give me a cut, buddy. I was talking to my
Yeah, buddy.
cousin, Matt over in Culver City in LA, and he's a big NFL fan, has it on all day on Sunday, big better. And I said, "You gotta help me out, buddy. You gotta help me out." And he said, "Actually, I'm terrible at betting at the NFL." And I said, "Are you 0-8?" And then he sent some emojis laughing at me and some other not so friendly emojis. He's like, "No, no, I'm not that bad." So he didn't give me any ideas though. This is all on my own. I just I just think I'm due, buddy.
It's all you,
Regression
man.
to the mean.
It's all you.
Okay, let's do our
Granny Bomber
CFL.
fan, is that enough NFL
Yeah,
talk?
let's do our CFL rapid fire.
Andrea too. Yeah. Okay. So let's get to the CFL rapid fire. You can go to sia.com/bonfire right now, sign up, get your bonus. Ottawa in Hamilton. The Ticats are 6 point favorites. Zach, who do you like?
I like the Ticats. I'm jumping on the Darren bombing train.
Okay. So you got Hamilton
Part of my 2-game parlay on
-6.
sia.com. Yep.
I'm with you there.
Yep.
We've got BC 7 point favorites in Edmonton.
Love it. Yeah,
Pardon
I
me?
mean Cornelius is out. Yeah, I would take
You
BC.
got
They're still
BC to
gunning for that
cover
home
7.
game. Yep.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Okay, I was against you in all these picks last week, so
Yeah.
now we're holding hands.
Me-
Toronto at Montreal. The Argos are favored on the road by 1.5.
I would take Montreal on that one.
You like Montreal plus 1.5.
Yeah, I do. It's not a big cut. It's not a big 1.5 and beat them by 2. The Argos are so up and down. The Argos could go and destroy them by 40, and I wouldn't be surprised. But I'm just going to take the
I'm gonna
home team there.
I think Toronto's a good team
I agree.
against a weak team, so I'm gonna take Toronto minus 1.5.
Okay.
And then Calgary is a 2.5-point favorite in Saskatchewan. 2.5.
2.5. Are you kidding me? With that tire fire? Oh man, they're not just gonna find Montreal. They're gonna put a lien on the house, buddy. Yeah.
Find Montreal.
Find Saskatchewan. Oh, I muffled that.
Mason fine.
Mason fine. They're not just gonna
There you go.
find Saskatchewan. They're gonna put a lien
So
on the. They're gonna
I'm
put a lien
guessing
on
you
that
and I
toilet
both like
bowl.
Calgary minus 2.5.
Oh baby! So I put $30 down on a 2-game parlay in the CFL with Calgary only needing to cover 2.5 and Hamilton minus 6 against Ottawa. $30 gives you 100, folks. It's a great website. Canadian owned,
Yep.
Indigenous owned. Love it.
No,
You
no
just
doubt.
put $5-10 on there just for fun, man.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. It's the place you want to be to put a little sprinkle on the games.
Okay. Yes.
SIA.com/bonfire, and you help support us here on the station. I do want to mention, okay, if you need a haircut and a beard trim in Winnipeg, the place you want to go is Old Town Barbershop. Okay, they are an awesome spot to be. They are on Tache Ave, just about a block and a half from the hospital. You can park right in front. They are at 284 Tache Ave. So what you want to do is call or text Jeff. I got his number in my phone. I'll get it for you. I've been going to Jeff for a number of years now, and I've actually followed him between a few different spots. But now he's opened up his own shop, the Old Town Barbershop, and he's really phenomenally talented at men's haircuts and beard trims. So go check them out at 284 Tache. This is the number you want to call. 204-391-8166. 204-391-8166. Great local business. And this is the best part. You go to the Old Town Barbershop at 284 Tache. They have one of the most eclectic and unique atmospheres a sports fan could hope for. Old school football, hockey, and baseball stuff. Like you will not get. I can sit in that barbershop at 284 Tache and like just look at the walls for hours. That's awesome. So cool in there. So cool. Like retro, all types of cool paraphernalia and memorabilia and stuff. Like you name it, they've got it there. So go see Jeff at 284 Tache in the Old Town Barbershop, 204-391-8166. All that information is in the video description below. So go see Jeff, text him for a cut or a trim or a beard trim. He is extremely good. You won't look better. You won't feel better than after going to the Old Town Barbershop. You tell them Bonfire sent you.
Yeah, and Tao Zen saying, I need to get over there. I'm not sure if he's talking about the hair or the beard or both. He could be right. He could be right. I love it, Darren. And I love a barbershop that's old school. You know, that appeals to me. And I think many folks, and especially with the sports paraphernalia. So a great local business to support, and you're supporting Bonfire, right? And DB looks good. So if DB looks good.
No complaints anyway from others around me, but I wouldn't go anywhere else. I absolutely love Jeff and the gang at Old Town Barbershop, 284 Tache. Kevin Sproul says, DB Zach, can the Eastman Raiders get a shout out? I will show my my GF's son. He will be pumped. What's going on, Sproul family? Enjoy this time of year. Eastman Raiders, go Raiders. That's awesome. Awesome news. Love the local football scene. Near and dear to my heart, Zach.
The Raiders.
The Raiders.
Go Eastman Raiders. Love it. Darren, I got to do my TSV teaser here.
Okay.
So the first item, of course, was the Jets mug. Second item, something you might want for the Western Final from the Bombers store. From TSV is one of these. I don't know if you can see it on the camera. There you go. It is a hand warmer, and it's got a
Just like the
little.
players wear.
Yeah, just like the players wear. It's like a fanny pack. It goes around your waist, adjustable, and it's cozy and it's cool looking. So when you're not clapping your face off at the Western Final or on the 28th there, it might be a cold game. You can put your hands into this little cozy, just like the players have. I love it, from TSV, and you can look like the players, feel like the players, and be nice and toasty warm. So that's item number 2. 2 more to go, folks. It's from our friends at TSV. Thank you very much.
That's awesome. Okay, yeah, you got final thoughts? I think we hit on everything today.
I think we do. I'm just looking forward to the 28th. Interesting to see what the Bombers will put out there. I think you'll see some more starters, Darren.
Yeah.
And I think by that point you may even see BC playing some backups, sending them on the road. So the interesting game to be at. I believe it's 90s night. I'm sure Gregory Liverpool has a lot of songs he wants to send us that he loves from the 90s. Darren, what is your favorite 90s band, buddy?
Oh, favorite 90s band? I don't know, like Pearl Jam. I was really into at that time. Love, Soundgarden, Nirvana. I was really into that.
Soundgarden.
The hip hop in the 90s is what really captured my heart. I love that. I'm just like Blake Wheeler. If you saw Murata Teche's piece in The Athletic, Blake Wheeler's a big music guy, hip hop guy, freestyle rapper as well. But my favorite 90s song is by a guy with the same name as the Manitoba Moose head coach, Mark Morrison. Return of the Mac. That's my jam.
Okay. I love it. I was a Soundgarden guy. I'm seeing Pearl Jam, Smashing Pumpkins, Backstreet Boys is what Darren likes. So folks, we won't have a game day because we don't have a game day. And then we will see you next Wednesday to prep. We'll review what happened in the CFL this week, the intriguing playoff implications here, Darren. See what happens in Saskatchewan. That's going to be what I'm really watching. And then we'll tee up the last regular season game against the BC Lions. Another chance for Bombers to chant their favorite chant, which is, of course, BC sucks. So I will love that.
Yeah. I do want to mention, as Scott Roger points out, the Rifles are in Regina for their Prairie Football Conference semifinal this weekend. Hashtag Rifle Up. Cal Lando, what's going on, man? Go see Jeff at the Old Town Barbershop. 204-391-8166. As you see on your screen right there, you can find him at 284 Tache Ave, park right on the street, right in front. Pop in and get a fresh cut. You'll
Looking good, DB. You're looking good. Can I just say one more thing? Sorry, I forgot to say this on the show last time. Just a quick update on our fantasy league. Our Bonfire Do or Die fantasy league, NJLAF 705, is just edging out Ted Lee and for the MCW with 1,778.9 points. Of course, the winner of that gets a prize. And then in our Pick'em League, we got C. Diddick, who's past Ted Lee, is at 12,418, but it's a close race between him and Ted Lee, too. Ryan Harris. It's a 2-horse race. And by the way, C. Diddick, who's in our Pick'em pool and our fantasy pool, and CJ, and Ted Lee are like top 10 in the entire country. Like, I think they're like 2-3 in the entire country. So we have some rarefied air, folks, at Bonfire Sports, Pick'em and Fantasy. Good on you guys.
Football.
They do, and I think I think even NJLAF 705 is right up there too. So anyway, thanks for playing.
More importantly, those winners of our fantasy will win a pretty great prize, will they not?
Fantasy and pick 'em. Yep.
Yeah, like you're not going to be disappointed. Maybe the best prize we've given away this year.
Perhaps.
So, yeah.
Well, folks, nice to see everybody. Nice to see the fire starters. We'll see you in a week. Who knows? Maybe I'll have a haircut and a beard trim.
Yeah, go see Jeff.
Don't underestimate a beard trim. When you try to have a beard going, it takes a lot to maintain a nice beard.
No
It
question.
certainly does.
And it just feels good. Just
Yeah.
go get a haircut. Feels
Yeah.
good. Go see
Okay.
Jeff. Give him a call. 391-8166, area code 204. Just text him right now. He'll set you up. He'll get you in.
Okay.
You won't regret it. Okay, everybody. Appreciate everybody coming out today. And I'm going to continue to juggle all my technology in front of me here. Okay, now I'm ready to sign off. Take care, Zach. Have
Sayonara,
a great
buddy.
weekend. We'll see you next week here
See you,
on
folks.
Bonfire Midweek.